Welcome into the Legislative Lounge, where we bring you the truth between the lines. Today is an extra special episode, but unfortunately, my co host, Professor Mike, isn't going to be with us today. He got called into work, but we thank you guys for all joining us here today. And what we have for you guys is a special panel of a victory lap, honestly, because what happened on Tuesday night was a historic presidential election that a lot of people aren't aware of how historic it was in the sense of numbers, demographics, vote counts. And that's what we're going to do here for you guys tonight. We're going to dive deep into the numbers and just really give you our reaction to what happened and why we are so happy about what's about to come in 2025. So we have a great panel of political influencers from top to bottom. Some of them have actually had experience in regards to, working within presidential candidate, within campaigns, within a lot of the political realm. So we're going to just start right off the bat and get dived into it. First up, we have a great individual in somebody that I personally know from through social media. She is an inspiration to women. She's strong. She gives her ideas and philosophies in such a great way on TikTok mainly. So if you guys don't know her, definitely follow her. But here we are with Natalie.
Thank you for having me on, Nate.
Absolutely. We're glad that you're here. And if you have anything for us tonight, we'll definitely dive right into it. But we're going to move on to the next one real quick and just kind of give an understanding of who this individual is. He is somebody that has been working within the political world actually for quite some time. Himself is 12 years in the total space. He's done a number of different things. I mean, he's been a chairman within the Utah Black Republican Assembly. He's been a state information analyst for the Convention of States. He's been on advisory boards for unified police departments of the greater Salt Lake area. And he's also been a two-time zoning and planning commissioner, along with giving a lot of political and constitutional information throughout all social media. So welcome to the stage, Roderick.
I appreciate you. Thank y'all for having me up on here. It's an honor, actually. One of my best men. You know what I mean. So got to come do the solid for you, bro.
Absolutely, and we love you because the information that you give to us is just it's elite information. So I can't wait to get into it. So. But next up, we also have another individual that has a long history within the political realm. He's been involved with politics for nearly 2 decades, starting out as a young teenager, worked for over 20 different Republican campaigns across 8 separate states, most of them being in Georgia, where he's from. He's been an officer for the Republican Party, former county chairman, and currently serving in a higher office with the Republican Party in the Georgia area. He also, when he was a teenager, founded a teenage Republican chapter in his high school. He ran his college Republican chapter as well, and has 2 political degrees and a wealth of knowledge that he just spreads. When it comes to the actual election itself, he was able to give some in-depth information and has lives with just wealth of knowledge that is unmatched, honestly. So welcome to the stage, Political Education.
Thank you so much for having me in, Nate. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely, definitely. So we're gonna just jump right in, and right off the bat, I'm pretty sure everybody in here has already advised me that they did, in fact, vote for Donald Trump. But I want to just get your guys' raw reaction to what happened on Tuesday because I don't think people really realize how monumental that comeback was. So we'll start with Natalie.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I was actually kind of nervous going into it because we know what happened in 2020 and we know about I know you can't really say it, but the rigging, but, you know,
I'm
you
not
see
saying on
all
this
the,
platform you can.
well, thank goodness, because TikTok you can't. But I mean, we saw what happened then, and I was really nervous going into it because they weren't fighting for Harris the way they were fighting for Joe Biden back in 2020. And they kind of took a big step back, and that kind of let me know, hey, we need to kind of be on our guard with this. And then with them talking about the delays in the postal service and the mail, And then talking about all these different things. Oh, well, it could take up to a week for the ballots to be counted in certain states. All these red flags started coming up. So I kind of went into it nervous, kind of keeping my fingers crossed. But shortly after they started counting the votes, when the polls closed, when he had such that substantial lead, I started kind of settling down a little bit more because she just wasn't catching up. And that kind of let me know that our voices were more important than the rigging, than the celebrities that were out there trying to, persuade young voters. So it it was great. Like I lost my breath a couple of times, but
Absolutely. I think we're all still there because, I mean, honestly, it's kind of weird that we're still waiting on 2 states, even though we know basically the results of the presidential results,
Mhm.
but waiting on a couple different things that we'll dive into, like Senate and House. But Roderick, what about you? What was your reaction?
Honestly, I by 6:55, I knew everything was going to be a-okay because there's some information I had gotten on the short side from the RNC myself that they had already had the election integrity groups already set up at that time, right? Like all over the place. I mean, there had to be at least 500 different groups of attorneys all over the country, like ready to walk into a courthouse at a moment's notice. So I know if anything nefarious was going to pop off, like it wasn't going to pop off. I mean, we had an incident up here in Marion County, which is Ocala, and one of the poll workers got tossed out by the supervisor of elections at that precinct. Nope. RNC came down and was like, no, you putting this guy right back up in there, and they got to sign off on the Marion County judge. Like, you need to put this guy back. Like, they was on it like blue bonnet. You know what I mean? So I knew at that point when I seen that part moving, I'm like, there's no way they're going to get by with any kind of crazy nefarious stuff. So it was good. It was good. But the tail end, like, I mean, come on, 300 plus. Come on, man. I'm gonna pull a Biden. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, what can you say to that?
Right. Absolutely. Political?
Well, I will say that I was extremely nervous going into this. I thought that this was going to be an extremely close race. I thought it was going to be closer than 2020. The prediction that I had been telling people for months is that, this election was going to be decided by less than 200,000 voters spread across 8 separate states. And in a lot of ways, I'm very happy that I was wrong about that.
Absolutely.
Um, but the day before the election, when the New York Times ran their final poll in regards to, how each of the swing states was doing, how some of the closer states were doing, and then they came out with their caveat that they could not accurately poll Trump supporters and that they were facing the same polling issues that they faced in 2016.
Mhm.
I and saw where the polling was, not just with New York Times, but with Atlas and some other groups, and saw that he was leading in pretty much every swing state. I knew that he was going to win by 312.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be the final vote margin. And to me, thinking about that and really hoping for the best and seeing that there wasn't really as much enthusiasm for Kamala as there was for Biden in 2020 really made election night very, very fun. Because I did a live stream all night on election night, and I'm sitting there in real time pulling up these states on the New York Times website, because they've got the best interface, but watching Pennsylvania turn red, seeing Donald Trump up 200,000 votes in Georgia, seeing him up in Michigan and Wisconsin, and he was leading in Virginia for a while. It was surreal. And I am still extremely excited about what happened.
Absolutely. And I ain't gonna brag or anything, but me and Mike have been saying for a while, our forecast was 312. We saw a lot of what Roderick was talking about in regards to, the stop gaps that they had in place to prevent any of the shenanigans from going on. Laura Trump had put out a while ago that she had, what was it, 230,000 poll watchers and challengers in every single swing state, along with 500 individual attorneys in each swing state too.
Yeah.
So I was fully prepared to see And I even said it before when we did a live stream as well, and we were going through the numbers, which was wild. We had thousands of people just like you did in our live, and I said from the very beginning, I said around 3:30, I expect this to be called. And when I saw North Carolina and Georgia called, I was like, I started refreshing that Pennsylvania, like, come on, because people don't realize when it comes to the Republicans, all you need typically, if all the other states go the way it usually goes, all you need is Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, and that's 270 exactly. So I was just hitting that number. But
Well, and I will say to what you're saying, I trained probably 1,000 poll watchers in Georgia through the Republican Party this year, starting in January. And, people were fired up to ensure that there was election integrity, that there were eyes on every portion of the process. And, I think that actually played a very big factor in the Democrats realizing that, hey, we're not going to be able to pull any of the shady stuff we have in the past.
Right. So we had a he's not a late edition. He's on our original stand, but he had some family issues, which we are praying for him as well on. But I do definitely want to introduce our last guest tonight. He is a wealth of knowledge himself when it comes to Constitution from all 51 constitutions, the individual states, and he just provides and educates people on a daily basis, pretty much all day. It seems like it makes me wonder how he works and does this at the same time, but it's just a wealth of knowledge. So I want to welcome to the stage American Lumberjack.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you, brother?
I can't complain, man. Cannot complain.
All right. Well, it's actually perfect timing that you came in. So what we were doing first is I was getting your raw reaction from Tuesday night. Like, what did you expect, and how happy or sad are you in regards to it?
It went down almost exactly like I thought it was going to go down. The only thing I'm sad about is Virginia. I thought Virginia was going to flip. That was the only thing that really threw me off. Everything else played out like I thought it was going to. I knew Michigan they were tired of the BS. Now, what was a huge surprise was the split difference of Illinois. It's only difference of 400,000 people. I was floored about that.
Yeah, we're actually going to jump into all those numbers. Illinois is one of them too. So, but yeah, so in regards to the actual electoral college, what was your guys' initial, like, I'm pretty sure everybody had a prediction that they put out there. So what was your original prediction, Natalie?
I honestly didn't have a prediction. I'm not going to lie. I kind of, like I said, I was nervous going into it. So I didn't really have any expectations on what I would hope. I'm not like you guys are and, have to get precise with all the numbers. I was just hoping for a good outcome.
Right. No, I understand that. A lot of people, you got to be kind of nerdy like the rest of us to really dive into those numbers. So
I was just praying for a good outcome.
Yeah. Roderick, I know that when it comes to the presidential election, it's a little different for you because I believe this is the first time in a while you said you actually voted for the president because you're more focused on the local levels. But what was your original prediction if you made one?
My original prediction was I saw Trump getting about 280, 285 is what I saw. Just based on, what I felt here in Florida. I'm talking from my folks down in South Florida at my other house, up here in Citrus County here at this house, and up a little further up north because, I did a lot of hurricane relief. So I got to talk to a whole lot of different swaths of people. And they're like, yeah, whatever, go Trump, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But then started feeling the rest of the country. And then when I started seeing my folks in Chicago standing up, I'm like, Trump is going to win at least one or two wards in Chicago. He's going to win at least one or two. There's no choice. And the ones I thought he would have won, he didn't, but it was very close that he won, right? And we can talk about that part later on if it comes up in conversation. But then to see California, the people in California, right? The people from the mountains were like, you know what, they're going down into the valleys and door knocking and all that stuff. So I'm like, there's a change coming. There's change coming, right? But I will also say all credit to Trump for this one. Trump did something I had mentioned way back when I was the chairman of the Utah Black Republican Assembly. Republicans need to get on the damn ground, and you need to go talk to people. And that's what did Trump do? Trump did exactly that, and look what happened. So I hope as a whole, Republicans across the country understand what Trump did and how he did it. I mean, showing up in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Showing up in places you wouldn't think the president would show up, I think really pushed that popular vote number further than what most people anticipated. So
Right.
Republicans in all states, if you keep doing that every single election, it doesn't have to be presidential, municipal, state. You keep pushing that. And I'm telling you, you won't see another, you will see a blue tide, not a blue wave or a blue tsunami. You'll see a blue tide, and it ain't going to be that high. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
What about your political? Because I know you had a forecast. So what was the original forecast?
The original forecast was for 312. I mean,
Wow.
just look, and I know that, you know, we've looked at polling data, and I looked at the averages of the polls on Real Clear Politics, looked at the direction of the states, and really looked at the economy. And I was like, you know what? This is where people are at, and they're not responding to the polls. So if Trump's ahead and his supporters aren't responding to the polls, he's definitely going to win this thing. But the question is by what margin, and what's Democrat voter turnout going to be? And the fact that Democrat voter turnout was so down, especially in urban areas across the country, really showed the attitude of the country. Because that doesn't just say something about those of us that supported and voted for Donald Trump, but that showed how little confidence the Democrat voters had in their own nominee.
Yep.
Right. Lumberjack, I know that you had a forecast. I think we spoke about it before. I don't remember what it was.
We argued about it before. I was like 305 to I said 295 to 305. I didn't see him getting more than 305, and you and Mike beat me up verbally saying it was going to be 312. But I was actually hoping you guys were right, because there is no indecision if he would have got 312. 295, 305. It's good, but it's not better than 312. 312 is just like there's no argumentation there at 312. But every state I called, the only state I didn't get, honestly, was Virginia. Virginia really threw me for a major loop. I saw him winning it as like a light blue or like a light red, but I saw him winning it. So them not winning it at Virginia just odd. And North Carolina really messed me up too with the governor's race, but that's another story.
Yeah, absolutely. And Virginia was one of those ones for me. I was teetering back and forth on what I wanted, if I wanted to include it. But this is actually my original map that you can't see the timestamp, so I can't prove my case. But me and Mike have been talking about it for some time. Mike's been probably about 4 months he said this, but mine's about a month and a half, 2 months old. But yeah, so I mean, everything came to fruition when it comes to my prediction, and I'm extremely elated by it, because what the biggest thing was in regards to, like, for me, I live in Texas, but I pay attention to the Midwest because I'm originally from Michigan, as you guys know. And one of the biggest things that like kind of caught my eye was the Amish and the Muslim endorsements that he received, right? In Michigan, anybody that knows Michigan politics, you do not win Michigan without the Muslim vote. Like, you just don't. And what was so funny about that, Dearborn being basically the Muslim hub of Michigan, has always been blue. It consistently goes blue. And yet this year, for the first time in a while, like a lot of new counties, went red. And that's what delivered him basically Wisconsin, Michigan, and then the Amish in Pennsylvania. I mean, what are your guys' reactions to the actual outpouring of such diverse groups coming together? Like, for instance, the Amish and the Jewish both endorsed Trump. And then the Jewish and the Muslims two very conflicting ideologies of people came together and voted for the same person. Natalie?
Well, I mean, I think that everybody kind of has seen in the past 4 years and what's been going on, and even though the Amish, they kind of stay out of everybody's little way, I guess, in my terms.
Mhm.
But it affects them too. The economy affects them too. Everything. Um, you have to bear with me. I'm on
You're fine.
medicine and stuff. But anyway, I don't know. I just feel like it was a great thing for them to get the Amish voters. And
Shout
who was
out
the
Scott
guy's name?
Pressler.
Who was the guy?
Uh,
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah,
That's what I was
Scott
going to ask
Pressler.
the
Shout
guy's
out
name.
Scott Pressler for sure.
I
I
feel
mean,
like him and Charlie Kirk need to get the most recognition for, the Amish and the different communities and then the college students. Because if it wasn't for them, a lot of them wouldn't have come up and wanted to vote for Trump because they were always kind of putting the facts out there for everybody to see.
yeah, like when it comes to Charlie, like I know Charlie Kirk can be kind of a conflicting personality. Now I know some of them, that's why I say it. I know some of them up here aren't a fan, but but I mean,
I
what
like
he did in
them.
Arizona absolutely helped deliver Arizona, and I know people don't believe that, but it is the reality of it. LJ, since you're down there, did you want to speak on that real quick?
I applaud Charlie Kirk for doing what he did. And I think I will give him his go ahead nod and say we would not have had college age males on our side in the vast majority that we did if it weren't for him, because that man, you could say it's campaigning. Granted, he debated, but he campaigned on college campuses relentlessly the last 3.5 years. Relentlessly. So I think if it weren't for him, Trump would not have had that boost in that area. So as much as I don't really,
I mean, absolutely. To just really like point out the truth of what you just said, I don't think people realize this is what the map would have been if it was just women voting.
yikers.
Kamala Harris would have handedly taken it if the men didn't step up and actually put in their vote. So that's the amazing part about this.
Dang, that's rough.
What about you, Roderick? What are your thoughts in regards to like the diversity of the vote?
Watch this. I'm gonna say this out loud, and this is one of those controversial things, but identity politics helped the Republicans this time. Think about it. Blacks for Trump, Latinos for Trump, Native Americans for Trump, right? And we know, we don't like, even as libertarians, don't like playing the whole identity politics game, but it wasn't forced, and that's what makes this different. It wasn't like the Democrats. They'll sit there like, yeah, you're in this group and you're in this group and you got to do this. These people came together organically and was like, we're supporting Trump. So it made it fashionable and more palatable to support Trump if you were quote unquote identified as Black, or if you identified as Latino. It made it easier for people to say, hey, I am for Trump. I got a home I can go to and conversate with the same people. Identity politics can win politics if they're not weaponized. And this is what happened in this election.
Mm-hmm. And just to even prove that point, when we look at the actual numbers from when Trump and Biden went against each other, I mean, you could see vast numbers of difference. Like, for instance, right here, this is other race is 39. Latino for Trump was 35. And then the Black vote was, I'm sorry, it's so small. I can't even get over it. It's 9%, basically. I can't even get over it because it's so small. But when you go to this year's, you'll see a vast difference. Trump went up to 16 on the Black vote,
crazy.
42 on the Latinos, and he went a little bit down on this in regards to the other races. But one of the biggest things, which I love, and I'm going to give a shout out because of my heritage, the Native Americans, the number of Native Americans that came out and voted for Trump, 64% of them voted for Trump. So, heck yeah.
Yes.
MPA, what's your I know you're the numbers guy, so give it to us.
Well, this isn't necessarily as much of a numbers thing as it is a campaign strategy. Trump built what I think is the first truly coalition campaign that we have seen in the United States since George Bush ran for office.
Yeah.
So by building this coalition of different groups, bringing in maybe even bringing in people that never would have been traditionally Republican, making efforts to specifically target the youth, which is a demographic that we know we handily lose every single election just because young people are more easily swayed by their emotions. Like the fact that he was able to build a coalition and focus around this concept of, look, it's not just about one particular set of ideals. It's about making America a better country for everyone, shortening the Republican Party platform so it was digestible for the average American, coming out with Agenda 47, which really completely just broke the entire campaign down into a few points that someone could read or watch in just a few minutes. Building that sort of coalition campaign is absolutely one of the key things to victory that Donald Trump and his campaign did. And, you guys talking about the youth vote, one thing that I did want to bring up with that is some numbers. We saw women aged 18 to 29 shift 18 points towards Republicans in this election. Now, that didn't put them in the majority for women aged 18 to 29, but moving 18 points further to the right is a huge deal. We also saw a shift of 13 points to the right for young men, which for that same age demographic, 18 to 29, which put the majority of essentially Gen Z voters that were men voting for Donald Trump. And we saw, between that shift in the Gen Z female vote and the Gen Z male vote, I'm sorry to tell Harry and Parker and Dean over on TikTok, but their little efforts to turn Gen Z out to vote for leftist causes, I don't really think had much of effect when these people are worried about whether or not they're going to end up being drafted or whether or not they can afford to own a home one day.
Mhm.
That, I think, that overall is what caused that youth demographic to shift to the right when they realized, look, we are in a very bad spot right now. I don't know if I'll ever own a home, but you know what? If I vote for Donald Trump, I might actually have a shot.
And honestly, when it comes to people like Harry and that whole sect of individuals, I think it actually had a more detrimental effect on people their age than what they wanted, in the sense that it actually drove quite a few of them away just due to the wokeism. And that's what I'm loving to see in the younger generation, because Gen Z is honestly the purveyor of wokeism. But it seems as if there's causing a ripple effect within the Gen Z.
Well, I mean, when your scripts for your content are written by middle-aged white liberals in Washington, D.C., white liberal women, I should say, that generally tends to turn people off overall, because those are the chief woke officers, I guess you could call them. Because, those middle-aged white liberal women in D.C., they can be pretty...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
guys,
We know. Oh, we
feel
know.
free to jump in.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know you know, Roderick. I know you.
Lord Jesus.
Honestly, and we're starting to see it in a lot of different areas, and we can jump right into this. So feel free to jump in anytime, guys. Cut me off. But like, this is California 2020 versus 2024. One of the most is the most liberal state in America, easily, hands down, right? But
No,
you're seeing
not
a
true.
Oh,
Not
you don't
true.
think so?
No, it's not. Because
No?
let's think about this, right? How is it the most liberal when the liberals aren't spread out? They're all congregated in one spot like a clan,
And that's
right?
probably what the problem with
Right?
California is right now.
California, that almost looks like a Reagan California with minus about 3 counties in the north,
Mhm.
right? But
Right.
that coast will always be blue. That coast will remain blue as blue as the Pacific Ocean is. There's no changing that, and that's unfortunate to say it that way. But we've seen the data going back to Nixon.
Mhm.
That whole seaside is always going to be blue. It's always been blue, and
Right.
it's going to be the devil to break. But for the most part, the rest of that's red.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and one of the ones that I expected, which is why a lot of people were talking about possibly it flipping. I knew it wasn't going to flip this time, but I knew there was going to be some massive shifts. Was New York. Like these are the
Mhm.
numbers of shifts in this election. There are so many counties within New York alone that just completely blew everything out of the water.
Yep.
Have you guys been looking into the any of these
What
numbers?
did
Oh, I've been looking into this.
what was the shift, the overall shift in New York?
PE, do you have that?
The overall shift, I mean, just looking at it just from like a 30,000 foot view, the overall shift in New York was to the right. The entire state of New York shifted to the right. I mean, for the most part, the entire country shifted to the right, except for Utah and then a smattering of places across Georgia, North Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. Everywhere else really just moved to the right.
I actually
And
have.
by large numbers, I might add.
Yeah,
Well,
I was just about to say I've
my
got those
state,
exact numbers though. Go ahead, Natalie. Though.
well, my state actually had a little bit more blue in it this term in Alabama. We are predominantly a red state, and I've noticed that, during the, results and everything, that there's a big strip that goes right through my area on up, which Birmingham and Montgomery has always been blue, but it extended more this term to where Alabama was a good bit blue, like, than it normally is. And I didn't particularly like that too much.
I think that had a lot to do with the redistricting that they were doing in Alabama.
Mhm.
That and that caused a lot of shifts, and that made a lot of waves in 2022 when that happened, because
Well,
they were
pra-
saying that they were trying to invalidate certain demographics.
which I'm not saying anything either, but it could have something to do with the 4,000 voters that our Secretary of State tried to get taken out of the
Oops.
registry, and the Biden administration sued
Oh, we
them,
don't know anything.
and we lost. So that might have something to do with it.
No,
So.
that didn't happen. No.
Funny. I'm sitting over here.
Never.
I'm asking political education for the numbers, and I already looked them up. So to put this in perspective, this is shifts to the right on these states. So California shifted plus 12 to the right.
Wow.
Yo, that's crazy.
Illinois plus 9. New York plus 11. New Jersey plus 11. These are double-digit, massive changes. And the Illinois one was almost 10. So it was like 9.8 or something like that, to be exact. So, I mean, we're looking at the 4 most blue states in America making a massive shift. Like, those are millions of votes, guys, or hundreds of thousands of votes, I should say, that are moving over to the right because of a lot of the issues that we're seeing. Like, people, there was a meme out there where I was, people are more interested, mothers, for instance, because their target was females in this election.
Right.
Females buy more groceries than they do get abortions. And I was like, that tells you everything, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And
I mean,
so-
you talking about New Jersey, Donald Trump only lost New Jersey by 200,000 votes. I mean, in the realm of presidential elections, 200,000 votes in a highly populated state like New Jersey, that's nothing.
Yeah.
That means
Right.
Kamala only carried 52% of the vote in a traditionally deep blue state. This was a
Mhm.
mandate, even in the blue states.
Yep.
Now, I know you'll talk to some people and they won't consider 312 a landslide. However, when you look at the actual massive shift, like, yeah, on the number 312 I guess you wouldn't consider that a landslide, because you're probably looking to like the 330s, 350s plus as a landslide by number wise. However, when you look at the sheer just dominance of the shifts in each individual state, along with the fact that Trump was an underdog by, I mean, if you put this in sports perspectives, he was given zero chance. Like football terms, he was the negative 21 plus in regards to how he was going to lose this election if you looked at anything media wise.
Well,
But-
I mean, ultimately, I think what really got it for him is that, like you guys were saying earlier about him actually getting out and getting in people's faces. He took it back to the 17 and 1800s, where they had to go from town to town and actually get in people's faces consistently. I mean, He hit North Carolina, Greensboro, Raleigh, Charlotte, Kinston, North Carolina, of all places, which Kinston's this big, but he went there. He did not have to go to Kinston, but he did. Rocky Mount, this big. He didn't have to go there, but he did, because most people would have only hit, Kamala Harris only hit Charlotte. She didn't even go to anywhere else in North Carolina, only Charlotte.
Mhm.
And that happens to be the largest population of almost 900,000 people in North Carolina, but she only hit that area, and she forsook everything else. And Trump was going to rural areas like Rocky Mount and Kinston. Kinston's only about an hour and a half from me,
Mhm.
and the population of Kinston's only like 18,000 people. It's tiny.
Mhm.
Definitely, like the strategy that the Republican Party had as a whole, just even when you get into Senate and House, like, yeah, it's kind of getting close in regards to the House, but like their whole overall aspect, they're definitely making a major changes and hitting those littler towns, so that way we can get that small. It's like setting the foundation of where you need to be, so that way
Mhm.
you can go to those bigger cities and possibly flip them.
Mhm.
B, I can see
So
you.
if
You
I
won't-
can,
go ahead.
this is something that isn't being talked about as much yet, but it's going to be talked about a lot more in the coming months. Donald Trump's campaign has completely redefined campaign strategy, and particularly in the realm of voter contact. One of the things that Trump Force 47 did is, instead of doing a traditional field campaign where you target, your different voters, your hard Republicans, your soft Republicans, your independents, your
Mhm.
soft Democrats, your hard Democrats, they threw all that out the window. They said, we'll let congressional candidates, we'll let PACs, we'll let these other groups go after them. Instead, what they did is they said, you know what? We're going to cut our costs, but we're also going to maximize our effect. And we're only going to go after low propensity voters that do not vote in every election.
Yep.
And I will tell you from the outset, when I started talking to the people in Trump Force, and they said that they were only targeting these low propensity voters, I thought it was absolutely insane. That's good. You guys are wasting your time going after these folks. You're not going to get them out to vote. They don't like to vote. They're disengaged. And I probably need to find a hat to eat at some point by now. Because I'll be darned if that didn't have a massive effect, especially in rural America, of getting these voters out to vote. And I think that we're going to see not just Republicans, but we're going to see Democrats learn from this as well. And because we're going to start engaging more with these lower propensity voters, we're going to start to see more and more civic engagement across the country, because these people aren't going to be forgotten about just because they don't vote in every election.
Mhm.
And to PE's point, both campaigns I ran for zoning and planning commission, I targeted unaffiliated voters, right, and people that in low propensity voters, and that's how I won both of my elections, because I know the people. Because here in Florida, right, they're nonpartisan, right, but we know once you get your name out there, certain people are going to vote for you because you've made a show of face. But the low propensity voters that very rarely show up, those are the people that push me over the finish line both times, and I'm talking in massive number, right?
Right.
So it's probably the best strategy you can have. You target just those people, because most people, let's be honest, they vote straight down party line, right? I mean, that's just a thing that they do. So you're going to have your people that's going to vote Republican, right? But you got to find the ones that are unaffiliated, right, or low propensity, right? And you hammer those people. I'm not saying hammer, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, PE. When we talk about that, you keep going to these areas where these people are. Most of those people that are low propensity voters are people that work 45, 50, 60 hours a week. So they're not truly fully informed on what's going on politically. Those are the people you go after, because once you make them aware of what's happening, is that happening for real? Let me go look into that. And you give them some information. They'll look up this stuff on their lunch breaks, things of that nature. And then when you see them again, hey, so-and-so, how you doing? Oh, I remember you gave me the information about that. Boom. That's it. And then next, they tell their neighbor, oh, I talked to the candidate that's running for so-and-so X and X. Oh, for real? Next thing you know, you got a whole legion behind you. You ain't got to say 2 words. Just they know you're good people, right?
Right.
And they know you're trying to do the right thing. So that's right. Sorry, go ahead, man.
No,
Well, we've seen that at lower level races, but we've never seen that done on a presidential race.
No,
And the fact that that's been done, not just done, but done successfully
right.
on a presidential race is, I mean, political nerd, it's blowing my mind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now that we've basically secured all 3 forms, now I know we still got a little bit of work, a little bit of votes in regards to the House, but at this point we can confidently say we're at least getting to 18, and which is the majority in the House. Now, whether or not my forecast comes true of 222, gaining 2 seats than what we previously had, that is yet to be seen. But we did just get some news in regards to NE2. Don Bacon, a Republican, had secured the seat there, which, according to AP News, that puts us at 212. So that's really nice news there. I have seen other forecasts right now that puts us at 216, which means that we're only about 2 away from the actual majority at this
Majority.
point, which is nice. But at this point, what we're showing for now, this is 270 to win. They usually will compile everybody's data and put it into one, and this is currently where we're at, 204 to 216. You can look at AP; they're a little bit different. They're sitting around 212 and 199, I believe, just because they haven't called certain races on their spectrums. But as of right now, this is kind of where we're at in a sense, which is why I'm safe to say that we've gotten all 3 forms of government. And in saying that, what do you guys expect or want to see from this administration within the first 100 days? Natalie?
Well, number one, just because I've had to hear about it so much in the past 4 years, I want them to put abortions back in put it in the states. I want them to put education in the states, let the states determine what they want for their citizens in that, in their area. But I know presidents don't control gas prices or grocery prices and stuff. So, I mean, you're going to see a dip in that as it goes. But you've also seen a shift of a lot of different countries wanting to work with the United States again. They are wanting to make deals. They're wanting to do ceasefires. They're wanting to cooperate. So, I mean, what we would want to see in the first 100 days is kind of already happening now, and the man's not even in office yet. I do want the whole thing between Ukraine and Russia to kind of be, that whole thing's a shit show anyway. So I was against it. All the money that was sent over there that could have been used for this country. Especially me being prior service military, that's stuff that can go toward the veterans, toward different things here. But I don't know, like, I have high expectations of what I do want to see, but I know it takes time. I
Right.
know it's going to take longer than the first 100 days of him getting inaugurated.
Right.
But
If you had like a top one thing, what would be the most important thing that you want to see him do?
the top one thing, I know this sounds pretty petty, but I guess I can be that petty person. But it's more of the abortion thing, the whole hearing women cry, my body, my choice, women's rights. I want him to put it back in the states.
Well, I mean, when it comes to
I
that,
mean,
so
I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about Project 2025. I'm tired of
Right.
hearing about all that crap. So I want him to
I think that's more of
shut
like
all
an
the women's
aspect of
mouth,
Yeah, I think that's just more of an aspect of teaching people. Like, he's already done it. Like, the Supreme Court has already ruled, it's in the state's hands, and it's just at this
Exactly.
point trying to get people to really realize that that's what's happened. So that's the great thing about it.
But
that
they're
it already is.
narrow-minded and they use the fear tactic on
Mhm.
them. Oh, they're gonna do this to you. They're gonna put you back in the Handmaid's Tale movie. No, I mean, I don't know. That's just the petty part of me, though. So I'll let you guys say I'm just a petty person. So
That's all right. Go ahead, Roderick.
First 100 days. Let's see. There's a couple things I'd like to see. So, before any of that, get rid of these agencies and all this stuff. Watch this. HRES 1 should be the repealing of the 16th Amendment. Get that on paper immediately. Second thing, HRES 2. Not HR, but HRES, right? Because it has to be a resolution for a constitutional amendment.
Mhm.
The repealing of the 17th Amendment. Game over. Because once we get rid of both of those, getting rid of the Department of Education and all that stuff becomes a whole lot easier because they can't justify the payment for that. So that should be the first thing Trump says. Y'all need to get this on paper and get this passed and sent to the states for ratification. Done. That's what we're doing. The rest of the stuff is going to come with time. But those are the two things I'd love to see in the first.
You're trying to end his life real quick, aren't you?
Man, look. It's either. Here's the thing: if we don't do that, right? And what's scary, I read something today, kind of same topic but off topic, that Social Security,
Mhm.
Medicare A and B will be insolvent by 2035 for
Yes.
sure. Insolvent, done. What? Why do we need the 16th Amendment at this point? If it's already technically, it's probably already insolvent now, right? Why do we need to keep paying money? Why we got to keep paying FICA and Social Security tax to pay into that? Get that money back to the people so they can start building what's left of their life, the retirement money that they've been like. Give it back. Just let it go. Give it back. Let it go. Give us the tariffs. Give us all that, and then we're good. Like, I mean, it's that simple for me. Anyway,
Right.
some people will disagree, but anyway, I digress.
On political education, I know you got to run here in a minute, so I got two questions that I want you to quickly go over. The first 100 days, and then I'm interested to know who you want to see in Trump's cabinet.
So first 100 days, I'm going to be honest with you, is going to be a little bit difficult because we do not have a cloture-proof Senate. We're looking at best case scenario, having 55 Republican senators. Worst case scenario, we're looking at having, sorry, I got to look at numbers here real quick.
53 is what it is. Right
Worst
now.
case scenario, we're looking at 53. Yeah. So being able to convince between 7 and 5 Democrats in the U.S. Senate to sign on to a lot of Trump's agenda is going to be difficult, especially considering the fact that the overwhelming majority of the Democrats left in the U.S. Senate are some of the most radical ones that exist. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some good stuff accomplished, some tax reform, immigration reform, things like that done within the first 100 days. But I think the Democrats in the Senate are going to probably just exist to be a thorn in the side of not just Trump, but the American people.
Mhm.
And as far as his cabinet goes, I'm going to be honest with you. I have more people that I don't want to see in his cabinet than people that I do want to see in his cabinet.
Out of
That's kind of
curiosity,
where,
say it.
huh?
Give us one that you don't want to see.
Well, personally, I think that Tulsi Gabbard and RFK need to hit the road, and we never need to hear from either of them ever again. RFK's positions in regards to medicine and agriculture and food are extremely misinformed. Like it's fairly evident that he gets a lot of his opinions from Facebook memes about food than he does from farmers and from people that actually make the food that we eat. And so as someone that grew up on a farm and is still active in a family farm on top of being in politics, I do not want RFK anywhere near this government. But I would love to, I mean, and as far as departments go, I don't care where he puts them. I would love to see people like Thomas Massie. I would love to see Sonny Perdue somewhere back in the government. I would love to see Sonny Perdue be head of the Department of Agriculture again. I think that would absolutely be an awesome choice to have him back in there. There are a lot of good choices out there, and he needs to make sure he doesn't make the same mistakes that he did in the past,
Right.
and not just picking people that are qualified, but also picking people that will go in line with the agenda he set forth for the American people.
Right. And see, people, we don't have to agree on everything because some of what he just said I don't agree with, but that's okay. Even within the same party, we can disagree and come to a conclusion. I know that you got to dip out, brother, so I do definitely appreciate you coming through. Everybody go follow him on TikTok if you're not already, and that is his name, Political Education, Wealth of Knowledge there. Thank you for coming in, brother.
Thank you for having me on. Y'all have a great evening.
Hey,
Have a
peace
good
and
one,
love.
LJ, well, you can answer both as well, and then we'll just go right around to Natalie and Roderick in regards to the cabinet.
The most important thing that Donald Trump needs to do within his first 100 days, the most important, and you guys might disagree with me on this, but optics are everything. The most important thing he needs to do right now is reinstate the Smith-Muntz Act of 1948.
Absolutely.
Okay, bud. Yeah. So that to me, the reason why that's most important is because that will stop the propaganda, that will stop the lying of the media, that will stop I really feel like it being removed in 2012 gave way to 230, which allowed the social media platforms to do the same thing and them to be able to silence us when we say something that we know is definitively fact, and because it's backed up by law or bill, and then that goes away because they can control that. So if he can do that, I think everything else will fall in place because the media won't be able to spew and spin lies to the people. And then the next thing, giving a go ahead nod to political education, I'm for getting rid of the EPA and the FDA's control over farmers, because having Monsanto and all these other companies force them to buy their seeds and not have their own seeds, these GMO seeds, is what really is messing the food up. So yeah, those are the two main things: is really fix our food and fix our voices.
Absolutely. Anybody specific that you would love to see in the cabinet at all?
Say that again.
Who would you actually like to see in his cabinet?
Byron Donalds. If he doesn't put Byron Donalds somewhere in his cabinet, I think he'd be very foolish. Very foolish. And I would have to agree with political education. I'm not so fond of RFK being in the cabinet, man. I think he brings the RFK, the Kennedy name, but I really don't think he places much value within the sphere of what Trump is trying to do. And I do believe that he is all based on some of his health concerns as far as what political education was going, because I've gone back over to some of the things he said. He's spot on some things, and other things it's kind of like he's over there in left field picking up blades of grass like that kid in Little League Baseball. And it's just like, bro, what are you doing? Get back over here. But I would love to see Byron Donalds. I've talked with Byron Donalds. That man he is a part of the future of America. And if he doesn't have him in his cabinet, he'd be doing America a huge disservice.
Honestly, I definitely agree with that. And I mean, when it comes to RFK, I know a lot of people are split on him because of his background and all that. But I do think personally, I think he's going to do a great job with getting the FDA in line and getting their grips off of poisoning America, in my opinion. And I think
agree.
that's what absolutely he's going to do, because he is besides his politics, besides his ideology on gun laws and things like that, things I definitely don't agree with. When it comes to health and wellness, I haven't heard him, because anybody that knows me, my wife and I, that's what she does. It's definitely the most exciting thing for us about the Trump administration, because I want to see what he does. Now, I will be very critical of what he does, but I want to see what he does. And I know Natalie feels the same, so go ahead.
Well, you saw my face whenever the gentleman earlier was talking when he made a couple points, because I was like, because I did study holistic health and everything, and we do have an epidemic of more kids coming up with autism, and that's due to more heavy metals being in vaccines. That's due to everything being in your food. So a lot of people, or I'm not going to pinpoint just him, but a lot of people cannot really be too happy about RFK being in the cabinet. But I'm excited over it, because with him being over the FDA, you get to monitor what goes into this. You look at the childhood vaccinations. I was born in 1983, so of course my shots were not nearly as much as what they are now. And I mean, they're poisoning your food, they're poisoning everything that goes into your body. And a lot of these things that they make your kids have, they really don't need to get. So yeah, I do feel like that needs to be looked at and monitored. And I think it's great. And I mean, I've always been fascinated with the Kennedy name anyway, but that's not why I'm happy that I would want him to be in the cabinet, because
Right.
we need somebody that's going to kind of go in 2 feet deep and kind of be a voice for us, because we don't have the say so. He can go in there and go, no, we need to change this and this. And we do need to be healthier. The United States is the unhealthiest country ever, and we have, big pharma is worth, what was it, $550 billion a year, and there's a reason for that. And so it's really exciting to see what changes he can bring. I mean, even if it's like what he said today, or not today, but I watched the video today. He's like, if he could just save one child, that would make his life worth it. And to me, you need somebody that's going to put our children, and their children above the money that could be made with big pharma and all this other stuff in the country. So, I mean, I think it's going to be fascinating, and I can't
Well,
wait to see what he does.
right. I mean, like I say, we can have a whole different discussion about RFK on his other issues, but when it comes to health and wellness, like that is the one thing that I absolutely agree with him on,
Hmm.
because we have the highest number of childhood obesity and
Yep.
childhood disease in the world, and it's not even close, and it's because of our food. I mean, everybody knows the one gentleman. He's from the UK. He has his little buddy too that they come over here a lot. I think his name is Josh. But they're doing this little series of videos right now where saying trying American food that's banned in the UK. Like the fact that that even exists tells you everything that we need to know about American food. So,
Mhm.
but anyways, I digress. Roderick, what about you? Any specifics? People that you want to see or people that you don't want to see?
There's not so much don't want to see. Couple people. One is, I mean, I would, in lieu of the other person, if they would ever step up to the challenge, Brett Grinnell as the Secretary of State. I would love to see Daniel Hawkinson, even though he just retired, be the Secretary of Defense,
Yes.
right? Because I've always thought in my whole belief when it comes to the Defense Department, right? We're to be defending the homeland first, right?
Right.
What better person to head said department and over the what would be deemed a domestic militia, unless they're Title 10, right, would be the former bureau chief of the National Guard. What better person? Not a war hawk, not a warmonger, right? Because look, they know a person that's just served, and no disrespect to the veterans, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but you put someone that's been a rank and file Army general, whatever, they only know abroad, right? Your National Guard knows in-house. They run these mountains, they run these hills, they know this terrain inside and out. If we get invaded, not saying that our Army generals and Air Force generals can't do the job, but the National Guard chief, right, the bureau chief, all the National Guard, they know this terrain. They know the choke-off points, like down to the freaking foot. I've talked to the guys here, right, including the guys in the Florida State Guard here. They know the terrain. They know where the cutoff points are. If someone invades, they know the cutoff point. They know exactly where to stand, right? Now, we can, and with the U.S. military, they can have all the imagery and all these different things, but they can't react as quick as National Guard can. I would love to see the National Guard chief be in that position to defend the homeland. And yet the undersecretary could, deal with, abroad military affairs, things of that nature. But I would love to see that person in that spot be from the National Guard and has trained with the National Guard the whole time. And, that's my opinion.
Well, no, you're 100% correct. I was thinking more along the lines of maybe Todd Hunt, because he's
okay. Todd Hunt's good. Yeah, Todd Hunt's good dude.
But the reason why I wholeheartedly I could not disagree with you at all on that is because they don't know the terrain.
Right.
Yes, you might train here on base and do excursions every now and then, but these National Guard go around the whole country, throughout the whole country, and
Mhm.
they know, like you said, everything.
Yeah.
They're going to be the ones that, if in the event, God forbid, something ever comes to the homeland, all your information needs to come from the National Guard.
Yeah, and they're your first responders. National Guard is going to be your first responders before the military, U.S. military, actually responds. They're going to be the ones to be called. Boom, you're in there until the U.S. military gets here, before the Air Force gets here, before the Navy gets here. They'll be there first, right?
Absolutely. And so I know when it comes to just bring us to an end, basically, what the biggest issue that we have at this point, everybody's in this twilight phase of, oh my God, we won. You know, it's great. Everything's going to get better. You know, is making people, first of all, understand it's going to take a little bit of time. We've got some groundwork that we've got to take care of, and you all need to be a little bit patient. He only has 4 years to get it done. I don't expect prices to dramatically drop right off the bat within the first year, like a lot of people want. Like anybody would want that. But even further than, you know, just making sure that the expectation is set for this, so that way we don't get, is two things. One, holding them accountable to doing what they want, what they said they were going to do.
Right.
That is the biggest thing. And if the Republicans, even though we are conservative, if they're not doing what they promised to do, then we need to call them out and do what, you know, make them do what they said they're going to do. Hold them accountable, because that's been the problem with not only the Republican Party, but also the Democrats for many of years, is the fact that they
100%.
give us these promises, but never any kind of, you know, ability to be accounted for, in the sense from the American people saying, hey, this is what you said, get it done. But then
Right.
also, we need, as conservatives, we know that the next 4 years are going to get better, at least, right? Or that's our expectation. And as long as everything goes the way that they were promised, it should. But now at this point, we have to also continue the groundwork that we've done over these last 4 years, is setting the stage of, hey, if you want what happened the last 4 years to happen after these 4 years again, and we're just going to continue to go on this roller coaster, then you need to wake up and start to realize, hey, we need to get past the point of, yeah, we won the election, but we want this to continue. So we have
Mhm.
to continue reminding people, hey, remember 2020 through 2024? I don't want that. Do you?
Facts.
I thank you guys all for coming in. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know everybody's excited and we're looking forward to it. So remember those things as we go forward into the next 4 years. Keep doing what we're doing as conservatives, trying to wake up more people. And we appreciate each one of you. Any last remarks from any of you guys?
Well, like I said, the petty part of me wants to sit there and let all the liberal females know, please quit shaving your heads and just keep your legs closed. So,
Honey,
that's just,
Miss Natalie, no. You got to stay on them to keep them. Just, you know what I'm saying? Let them get, you know.
look, they're helping us out with keeping their legs closed. So they're doing men a favor. So,
You know what?
uh,
One last point I wanted to make is, the funny thing is, I made a video on it. Is like, they're sitting here saying, "Oh, the 4B movement," and they're abstaining from sex. And what the funny part about it is, for the last 4 years, they've been, or 2.5 years to say, since Roe v. Wade, they've been preaching, "Oh, bodily autonomy, we want our rights, you know, to our body and whatnot." And it's like, you're now doing exactly what we've been telling you to do for the last how many years? Thank you.
I do want to say one last thing. We were the momentum that got that man across that finish line. We can't forget about that energy, because remember, we got municipal elections and state elections coming up in 2025. Keep that same energy, right? And I'm speaking to you from the local guy that I am. There's a lot of municipal elections next year. That same energy you got for Trump, you need to go find a guy that's in your county that's running for county commission, city council, mayor, zoning and planning commission, all of that. or even yourself, you run. Use that energy and you run. I mean, it's very
Right.
easy to get in on a local election. Some of these seats, listen, last municipal election, right? 2023. Okay. You know, across the country, do you know how many seats went unopposed across the country?
Thousands.
I know in my county alone.
17,835 seats went unopposed in the United States last year.
It's crazy.
All you got literally, you just go to your county clerk. What races are coming up next year? Do they have someone in there? Oh no. Oh, the person's not running. Oh, I'm gonna sign up for that. I don't care if it's dog catcher. I mean, that's the cliche, dog catcher. But seriously, I mean, I'm that's the first time I got onto the zoning commission. The guy was retiring, and I just walked in, signed up on the sheet, walked in the office. Minor campaign. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do for y'all. Right? Check your counties out. It don't take much. Right? Don't. And I know Nate's got aspirations for Congress and all this stuff. But look, right? Nate can probably do that. I would never. I say what federal government is like raid. I just stay away from the federal government in that regard. You know what I'm saying? But city council's races. Seriously, 20,000 votes, maybe, in a decent sized town. Right? You need 7,000 to win a city council seat. That's nothing. That's a couple of neighborhoods. Let's put that in perspective. You can do that. So take this energy we just had pushing Trump over the line, and you go either help a candidate you like or you run for office yourself.
Absolutely.
That's all I got to say about it.
Lumberjack,
Nate,
any last words?
Let's go run. Let's go run in 2028.
I will be running for something local. I'm not going to say it on here, but I will be running for something local, I think, next year.
Yeah, I'm going back zoning and planning this year, so I plan on going back. So
My last words are very simple. Fight, fight, fight. It ain't over yet. Yes, it's not over yet. What's that song? We've only just begun.
Oh,
Like
Lord
it's just the beginning, and this Trump is the start, but we got to finish.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Absolutely. And again, we want to thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate your time. You guys are some of the most inspirational people and educated people we know on social media. For all the viewers out there, if you're not following them, definitely go and follow each one of them. We got Natalie Knows Best, American Lumberjack, Roderick goes by the Titan of Liberty. Go find them on social media, follow them because they are a wealth of knowledge. And also remember to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, and Patreon at the Legislative Lounge. And our next episode on Monday, we're going to be bringing back some of our panelists from pre-election. So you definitely want to tune into that. We're going to go again into seeing the final results of the House and Senate. And that way, at that point, we can actually get into real discussion about real policy. But until next time, Monday at 7 p.m., you guys be good.